Good day, everyone, and welcome to another special live discussion. Today, we're tackling one of the most important conversations for every South African, the upcoming election and what our country needs for positive, lasting change. I'm delighted to be joined by three distinguished guests who each bring valuable perspectives to this discussion. Joining us is Yuvraajh Jusmer Singh, who is widely respected for his leadership, community engagement, and thoughtful perspectives on the issues shaping South Africa. We're also honored to welcome Professor Rajen Padayachee, a dedicated community activist. Since the advent of democracy, Professor Padayachee has worked closely with Ward 34 Councillor for the previous two electoral cycles and has played an instrumental role in integrating formal and informal residents into an equity coalition, demonstrating his long-standing commitment to inclusive community development and social cohesion. And joining us is Dr. Bobby Maharaj, whose leadership and experience have contributed significantly to discussions on governance, accountability, and nation building. Together, we'll discuss the challenges facing South Africa, the qualities we should expect from our leaders, how citizens can become active participants in shaping our future, and what practical steps are needed to build a stronger, safer, and more prosperous nation. This promises to be an engaging, respectful, and solutions-driven conversation. I encourage you to participate through the discussion by posting your questions and comments in the live chat. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much for having us together, Siddharth. We appreciate that.
You're most welcome. And oh, sorry, I'm just waiting for my questions to load. I don't know what happened there. Okay, no, it's okay. It's fine. It's on now. All right, I'll start with you, Yuvi. South Africa stands at another important crossroads. What do you believe are the biggest challenges voters should be thinking about before they cast their ballots?
So the biggest challenge we have right now is we're coming out of a period of governance that has seen corruption, has seen incompetence, and has seen a whole lot of unnecessary drama. And people that have tried to make these changes have been spurned and shunned by the major political parties. I've seen this with my own two eyes. Two of them are sitting at the table here with us. And with all due respect, if we want to see a progressive South Africa, we've got to start engaging with people of a progressive nature. It can't be about putting our friends, our sons, and our cousins into positions. That is nonsense. We've got to stop looking at keeping it in the family, so to say, and we've got to start looking at putting people in positions that can actually do the job and make this country a better place.
True. Professor Rajan, from your perspective, what are the three most urgent priorities the next government must address to put South Africa on a stronger path?
I think the three most progressive challenges we currently face is the lack of basic service delivery. One, we've got road leaks on every road, almost in every town in the country. We've got a lack of continuous power supply in the country. And thirdly, we've got rising unemployment. If we can resolve those three challenges, this country will be so much to live in. Looking at the positives, we've got good climate, good roads, and a good amount of young labor available to us. We need to think out of the box and resolve our challenges by taking the unemployed people, train them to become good artisans who can fix up the road leaks and fix up the lack of power, and we can turn this country around. Let's think out of the box and not rely on defunct municipalities that lack the staff or the knowledge. And hopefully we can turn the ship around by looking on new solutions to stop municipality and both entities that failed us. And as private entities, we've got to take the ball and run with it. And hopefully we can change and get rid of corruption to be a better South Africa after the November 2026 election.
Awesome. Dr. Bobby, what leadership qualities should South Africans prioritize when choosing those who will govern the country?
Honesty is one. There's been a lot of money that's gone missing, I would say. Excuse me, and I'm being polite. You cannot, in a country that is battling to survive, You cannot lose finances. Rajan made mention of the roads as an example. Johannesburg is no different. I am now living in Johannesburg and it is no different. Now, the question that arose in a few conversations that I've had with some people, they wanted to know, but where's the finances? Does the government not control its money? I mean, a worker would receive a salary or a wage, and he looks after that because he knows he's got people to look after in many cases, and that's his family. Now, we have a massive family running into, I don't know how many millions of people. Why aren't they, being sort of set aside? Let me take Ward 34 as an example because I spent about a year and half, or maybe a little more, 26 informal settlements. And at the time that I was councillor, two of them were the largest, which had an excess of 1,000 odd people living in those settlements separately. And I've been told by people that this has grown. We cannot leave the country in that state. The three you wanted, I gave you one, but here's the one that I should have looked at firstly. I'm people-minded. I get to know people. UV was with me many a time, and there was another activist, Daya Governor. We moved into a number of different areas. People got to know who Bobby Maharaj was. Even the informal settlers. When I was first elected, I was fortunate enough to come off one of the roads in, in Kenville. I found some parking, closed the car, and I took a walk down the footpath. And I had a lot of people staring at me. Those were the settlers, until a couple of them recognized me. And then things got friendlier and things got more hectic from a point of view of, their point of view, that we don't have this, sir, and we don't have that, sir. And they didn't have a lot of things, and they still don't have a lot of things. I don't believe that the Durban municipality has made appropriate changes in their lives. They have kids. One of the informal settlements had a problem overlooking the river, the Umgeni River, and about, half of it collapsed. Later, we got to know that there was a fire. I got to know that, and a father who went in to fetch his daughter out, he was concerned. This is a settler. Died a few days later from his burns. Why? Why should a life be lost? I couldn't, accept it, and still today I don't accept it. If proper arrangements were made for people, irrespective of whether they are settlers or even residents, rate-paying residents, that should never happen. You've got to be what I consider to be very people conscious. They've got to know you. They've got to know the kind of guy you are or woman. They've got to know what you're capable of. They want service. Ward 34 took up 24 hours of a day in my life. In 1 year, we had a major water leak on the book. And over the 24-hour period, we had 4 outside contractors coming in, doing their work, going off, but the repair was not done. And I'll never forget this, because it was the 6th of April that I was there. I was there every day. On the 6th of April, I reached a point of losing my patience. And that's very rare. I don't do that in Ireland. And I got back there late that night. I was in and out, and still the work wasn't done. On the, I think it was around about midnight, on the 7th of April. I was still there, but this time I managed to get a plumber from the municipality, a qualified plumber. 7th of April was the day I was born. And I was on that road. And I had enough people to see me who passed by, or even the plumbers. We we appear to create an impression that we don't have qualified people in the municipality. That's wrong. What we have are some people that just want to play games, and they work for the municipality. Why? I mean, how can you have something you know somebody else doesn't have it, even if it is a slice of bread? How can you have a peaceful meal and say, "Well, I've done my work. I'm a captain. I've done my work." Uh, I don't. I wasn't brought up that way, and I didn't grow up that way. My concern was help people. UV will tell you. There were times I called him and Daya Governor. We need to move. We need to get things done, and that's what makes the difference. Councillors must be seen. They must be seen. They must report back to the municipality when there's need, and there's always need. 24 hours around the clock when you look at Durban. I could continue, said, but I think, in a nutshell, I would care people first, and that is most important.
Awesome. All right, Juvi, what qualities should South Africans look for in political leaders if we want to build a more prosperous, united, and accountable nation?
Well, I can tell you, I've had the privilege of working with some of the very best. Dr. Maharaj here is exemplary, in my opinion. Dr. Rajen Padayachee, I expect to make a brilliant councillor should he win this upcoming election. And I've also worked with people in the past who, I won't name them, but I felt some of them could have made a wonderful president for this country. And it's a similar scenario because it's honesty, yes, like that said. It's also about drive. Too many people are happy to just follow the status quo. They will not implement. There's no innovation. There's no thinking out the box. And the countries that are truly progressive in the world are the countries that find new ways to govern, innovative ways to bridge those gaps that were previously not bridged. But to get to that point, you first got to have a very focused and a very honest bunch of individuals in those positions, which is something we are sadly lacking in at this moment in time.
Yuvi, which country do you think we should be aspiring to?
Honestly, the country that I believe, and they have their flaws, there's no doubt, they have their challenges. But if I look at lack of incompetence, lack of corruption, I would say it's the smaller countries. Countries that are basically not huge. I think India is an example of it. And but other than that, I would say the smaller countries around the world. The US has become a bit of a farce at this point in time, let's be honest. So is the UK to a great degree. And I believe it's because of a traditional way of doing things that just no longer works.
True. All right. Professor Rajan, how can political leaders rebuild political trust and restore confidence in government institutions?
I think basically we've learnt our lessons from the two previous challenges South Africa has had. Firstly, we were all brought up under apartheid and we lost out a whole generation. Secondly, COVID hit us in 2019 and now we're presently going through corruption. So therefore, we need to eliminate corruption to improve this country. So we need to mobilize a brand new set of people to regenerate this country. We need to eliminate all the corruptive elements that have turned us backwards and put us back way beyond 1994. So we need to, with the new elections coming up in November 94, in 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 in, in November 2026, we have launched the Etequini Resist, Etequini Rate Based Political Movement, abbreviated as EPRM, to try and downsize the ANC, who has proven to be totally corrupt, and also try to eliminate DA, who's now been accused of state capture through Tony Leon. We've also got other role players like Herman Mashaba, who's getting funding from the Israeli government. So we need a new political, ethical, honest party to turn the wheel around, to bring about a new governance in the country. And that is the only way, come November 26, to restore confidence, equity, and judicial peace in this country. And hopefully the electorate out there have learned the lesson in getting the fingers burnt by supporting the ANC, getting the fingers burnt by supporting the DA, and the smaller bodies like ASA, who are just as corrupt as those two other parties. So we are trying to get the new voters to come on stream to support a new political ideology. And we hopefully EPRM will steer the country onto a new paradise. Hopefully Sid will go that route. Thank you.
Dr. Bobby, how can communities become active partners in solving South Africa's challenges instead of relying solely on government?
You touched on something that's very, very sensitive. How can communities, I think those were the words you used.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed it. The only time the community starts coming to the party is when a particular problem, let's take a water or a road has collapsed, and it has not been attended to. How many times have you passed a hole in the road? It has been repaired. What do? They just put sand on top of it and go away. That's the time people hit those potholes, their cars are damaged, the tires are blown, and that's the time they start complaining. Why? Why wait until the problem starts? You've got that hole, you've seen it, you've gone past, and take it from me, it's happening even here in Johannesburg. And I've seen potholes that have been there for weeks on end, street lights not being attended to. Not much of an argument has come from the community. And who does it? With all due respects, Rajen, with all due respects here, it's the politicians and those that want to get involved in politics start using these potholes, etc., as an excuse to bring themselves to the fore. You don't need an excuse. You're a human being. People need to know that, and that they must get involved. The community cannot be left alone. They are part and parcel. And I'm tired of listening to, oh, but he comes from this population group or that population group. Sorry, I see a human being. And I'm not interested in the color of his skin or her skin. It's never been part and parcel of my life. Excuse me. Why do we have to make a noise after the damage has been caused and left for months before if it isn't attended? Why? I know, I was told on more than one occasion by some of my former colleagues that the worst ward in the Durban municipality was Ward 34. I can't deny that. I worked those roads. Jesse was with me. Rajen, Jaya was also with me. We worked those roads, and it was hard sore when the road has been without lights for weeks on end, or there's no water. There are cities right now in this province that are without water. We, why is it we wait for a pipe to burst? Is there not a way? I'm not a plumber, please. I come from an academic background, just like Rajan. Excuse me. But the question that hit me is, why is it that we wait for those pipes to burst? Is there not a way just to keep a check on them? I don't know. I'm not, as I said, I'm not a plumber. And I might be talking a whole lot of baloney. But you cannot wait for things like this to happen. And when it does happen, that's the time the community start making a noise. Meetings in the park. Oh yes, Rajan, be ready for this, buddy. You will get blamed for everything that you did not do. Right? But it's part and parcel of the type of job that a counselor would get. I've seen someone say in some kind of report he works only a few hours, etc. And so what 34 you work 24 hours, but I can assure you, you will get late calls, right? You will have to go to see at least what's wrong so that it can be done. To answer you, Sid, I wish I could give you a clear, simple answer to your question. But we're working with different personalities. I was, on a couple of occasions, there was an attempted assault on me. One actually caught me on my throat when I was taking a water tanker around. Excuse me. I wasn't the only one taking a water tanker around. UV did it also elsewhere. But Ward 34 is not like the wards across the road from Ward 34, where they can implement management. I was told once, I'm a manager. I kept quiet. The gentleman that told me this didn't realize that I lectured in business management for about 30 odd years. He didn't realize. He didn't know me. My colleague, but he didn't know me. And there were others. There was a resident that was also taking that issue. But it's, we can go on and on and on. My point is we need a government that is proactive. We need a proactive government. And I don't care whether it is in a expensive rating area or informal settlements. My word was people. And I said this earlier on. You've got to be people friendly first. You've got to know what they're going through. You stay at home. And I was guilty, I'll be very honest. I lived in an area that these informal settlements were. And I didn't really get involved with it until I became a counselor. And when I became a counselor, then my personality came. What I am. And I was fortunate working with guys like UV, with guys like Rajan, with guys like Daya Govender. Working with my wife also. She was in the office and she was even on the road. Carrying buckets of water. A woman that had 7 operations on her lower back. I think somewhere along the line, we've got to understand that there are people that need politicians. And these politicians need the people. Those two people, I can carry on. I told you that the last time. Please, thank you.
True. All right, UV. Many young South Africans feel disconnected from politics. What would you say to encourage them to participate in shaping the country's future?
I'll give you an example. I was very involved with a certain political party for quite a long period of time. And because my approach and my ideologies and my lifestyle was something very different to them and they could not understand it, I would call it a frame job was pushed against me and I was pushed out. And with all due respect, I think it happens in most parties. The youth is not inculcated into their plan. the sad thing is, yes, the youth have given up. They don't really take an interest in politics. I know it with most of my friends. But when they do try, they are pushed away. And that does not bode well for the future of this country. It is something that is a serious problem. Dr. Rajen Padayachee, the man who is now the ERPM candidate for the Ward 34, he was actually willing to step aside and push me forward. That was his initial suggestion. And I love you for that, Prof. Thank you. But I have too much on my plate. I've met a wonderful young lady who I love more than life itself. And her parents and I spent time together this past weekend. It's been brilliant. I love you, Mom and Dad. And, you know, at this point in time, I'm traveling tomorrow to Tunisia to shoot a new project. You know, I'm an actor. You've done many interviews with me yourself, Sid. And yeah, I just don't have the time. And this gentleman here, Dr. Rajen Padayachee, is so capable. Do not go by the gray hair that is on his face and on his head. That means
It's
nothing.
bald.
My dad here,
bald,
Dr.
it's not
Bobby
gray
Maharaj,
hair.
he has a lot of gray on him. He's fitter than most men, half his age. I know this for a fact. And the youth, yes, they do need to take more of an interest. It is very important for the country going forward. But it's also very important that they are included in what is happening. If that does not happen, they are not going to take an interest. Nothing is going to happen. And at some point, we're not going to have a government.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Rajan, what policy reforms do you believe would have the greatest impact on economic growth, job creation, education, and healthcare?
I think we need reforms to create more opportunities for our youngsters. As Yuvi said, why aren't the young people interested in politics? Because they see a lack of opportunity coming forward for them. So through new political dispensation, we need to create avenues for employment for the younger people so that they'll take an interest in politics. And we've got plenty of opportunities in South Africa. If you notice, there's people from overseas that come with their dollars and they set up businesses in South Africa and they do so well. And people regard that as xenophobic, which is totally wrong. We can learn from such young people to get used to the opportunities facing us on our streets every day. For you to sell a loaf of bread, for you to sell water, for you to even do a small repair job out there. So there's plenty of opportunities for youngsters, even at the age of 18. We would like you all to come. Make sure that you're registered to vote and take part in the voting of 2026. Because you've got 50 years ahead of you if you're 18 years old. And we need a new change in government to make South Africa a better place for everyone. So I'm appealing to all the youngsters to rejoin the political movement because it's your future at stake. Plus, lots of young people are telling me, Rajan, I'm going to go and work in USA and I'm going to work in Australia. I'm not interested in rebuilding South Africa. And I tell them, please, man, you've got your mother, father, your uncle, and your aunties, and your nieces still living in this country. Contribute something and make South Africa a better place for all. Don't run away from us. We've still got good climate, good roads, and we are relatively one of the cheapest countries in the world. Compare the price of houses in America to the price of houses in South Africa. Even our cars are relatively cheaper than anywhere else in the world. So we've got a wealth of positives in this country, and we need to bring the youth and bring people to rebuild a brand new South Africa and sit down. Hopefully, through your channel, we can get the youngsters to rebuild a new country. Thank you, Seth.
Awesome. Dr. Bobby, what role do ethical leadership, accountability, and transparency play in restoring hope and confidence in South Africa?
A great deal. That's lacking. What you mentioned is lacking, totally lacking. We have a government that's been around for quite a while. The question you can ask yourself, what have they done? Big holes in the road, no water, no electricity. There was a time when the North, Tonga, had no water for God knows how long. Excuse me. I was a councillor, but I also come from a sporting background. and one of my good friends sent a truckload of water to Stanger through me. I asked myself later, because I didn't get a chance to even thank him until much later, but I asked myself later, why? Why is there no water? But it made no difference. No water then, no water now. There's many areas without water. Johannesburg is no different. They're in trouble. And it goes back to the first question you asked with regards to the communities. If you're a ratepayer, you have a right to make a statement. If you're not a ratepayer, you still have to, because you're living in it. What is sad is that is the government listening to us? I don't think so. I really don't think they're listening to us. They hear the moans and the groans and the cries, and then they go deaf. Sadly,
That's
that's it. They go deaf. Why? It's easier not to pay attention than paying attention. Because paying attention means you might be on the road for a while. As I mentioned earlier on. I think our government has misled us to a very, very large extent. It's easy if you've got a big business that's paying well, but when you work in that business as an employee, it's not that easy. We've been reading and listening to a lot in the past few months about funds disappearing or funds being misused. What has happened? Has anyone been found guilty of these things? If they did, or they were found guilty, it's very quiet. I mean, it's that kind of money can lend itself productively to this country, to the people of this country. Yes, sorry, UV made statements earlier on with regards to, excuse me, the education of people. Rajan and I come from an educational background, but we stuck to, in his case, science, and mine was management. But it comes back to the very same thing. If we, for example, have a proper education system throughout the country, and I mean throughout the country, don't forget the north or the south where people are going to school, they have to walk 6 or 8 Ks to go to school, even longer. There's going to be provision made for that. And, God, I hate saying this, but the truth is the truth. Get qualified people. Make sure they are qualified. Make sure that they're capable of assisting and the younger ones growing up. We spoke about the younger ones not showing interest. Well, if they ignored, would they show interest? Would they? I don't know about you guys. I grew up on the Kalal Street, not about 1.5 we played soccer cricket on the road. And when the cops came, we disappeared faster than they came. We didn't want to go to jail. What am I getting at? Provide the fields for the youngsters to play the games they want to. Soccer, cricket, as an example. And I think that somewhere along the line, with the government, they lost sight of the people. Okay, before you say I'm wearing glasses, I know that. But my eyesight touches the heart, my heart, when I see guys not having the facility. It has improved to an extent, but not fast enough. Let me put it up. Thank you.
Awesome. Yuvi, beyond voting, what practical role can ordinary citizens play in bringing about positive change in their communities and across the country?
A very, very crucial one, actually. Um, so, voting, yes, you want to put the right person in the right position, no doubt. That is our civic responsibility and duty. However, as individuals, we have ratepayers associations. The whole basis of Rajan's party is ratepayers associations. We have civic bodies. Dr. Bobby Maharaj was one of the most influential civic chairs I've ever heard of. The man has done things, yeah, brilliant. And to be honest with you, I've myself have chaired 3 different civic bodies around the country. So yeah, get involved. Get involved with your local civic association. Highlight the issues. Highlight those issues. Bring them up at meetings. Hold your ward councillor responsible. Don't be an idiot and assault him. No, that those are idiots. People that want to resort to violence are people that don't have the brains to think. Yeah. Honestly, hold them accountable verbally, hold them accountable with your actions. If you're unhappy with your ward councillor's performance, it's very simple. The Speaker of the House, you speak to him. You get things done via those channels. But if you're not doing anything yourself, you do not have a right to attack that man. You do not. You've got to get off your backside. You've got to get involved. And you've got to make things happen. I did it. I was in my 20s when I started doing it.
Wow. Awesome. Dr. Rajan, how important is collaboration between government, business, academia, and civil society in driving meaningful and sustainable change?
Sid, that's an excellent question then. People are not too familiar with the triple P concept. The triple P concept is private equity, public equity, and participation. So by combining private people, working with government, and participating, we can resolve lots of challenges in this country. So it's a matter of bringing the capital from the private sector and sharing it with the government sector to resolve challenges that we have. These kind of modeling has worked well in towns like Bloemfontein, in the Free State, and also in some platteland areas where private artisans, private capital share their assets and equipment which the government has, and they can do the repair jobs, do the repair the potholes and repair the power station that we have. So that is the only way in how we can overcome the challenge of bankrupt municipalities and bankrupt national bodies. The private people will have to come in on a 50-50 basis and restore. Remember the old days during the apartheid era when we Indian community built public schools on a rand for rand basis. For every 1 rand, the Indian community the government put in 1 rand, and we built schools throughout the country. So we need to reinvent the wheel and bring back partnerships like that to make things happen here. Senseless saying governments are bankrupt, the municipalities are bankrupt. Private equity partners will have to come in and play the game with us. I like Bobby's sportsmanship concept. Let's all play the game together. And I like Yuvi's suggestion. We got to think out of the box, to think of novel ideas to work our way forward. That's the only way we can build a better country, Siddharth. Public-private participation. Don't forget triple P concept. Thanks, Sid.
And Dr. Bobby, in your opinion, what is the single greatest obstacle preventing South Africa from reaching its full potential, and how can it be overcome?
Could you just repeat that, please, Sid?
Sure. In your opinion, what is the single greatest obstacle preventing South Africa from reaching its full potential, and how can it be overcome?
Good question. Excuse me. I haven't seen South Africa reaching any potential. I'm not being nasty. I'm not a kid. I'm a little over 79 years old.
Wow.
I grew up in the city. I grew up with people that looked for work, and made it work. My late dad was an example. But the point that to find an answer to your question goes back to what I said a while back. People first said, it answers your question. People first. And once the government can think about the people and make them come first, the government is now making progress. That is the time they will make progress. But if I turn my back on you and walk out, no progress. Everything just falls flat. Absolutely no progress. Don't think about yourself. You don't come first. I'm not being nasty. It goes for me too. I don't come first. Rajan doesn't come first, nor does UV. The government cannot put itself first. The government must start looking at the people and looking deeper into what their problems are. Why is it that we've kept so many people living in an informal settlement? Why is it that we have so many informal settlements? Look, India is no different, but it's over the last few decades made a massive difference to how it wants to go forward. To me, it's Modi, the way he thinks. He's the man in the front. He's not hiding. He's not running away. He's there. He's there, and he goes about doing his work in the way he was brought up. He did that. Modi is not a Gandhi. Modi is Modi. He's a gentleman with a mind for people. I haven't met him, but I've read about him. And I've seen the way he looks at his government and what he expects from them. And that kind of growth, development in an individual in his position will flow down to his ministers and eventually to the people. You make money, use it for yourself, and use it to grow the people in your country. Thank you.
Awesome. Yuvi, finally, if you had the opportunity to address every political leader in South Africa today, what message would you give them about the future of our nation?
Very simple. Leave your ego at the door. We don't need your ego. We need your best effort. We need you to show compassion. We need you to put yourselves in our shoes. And we need you to understand what is required to take our nation to the next level. Yeah.
Awesome. Dr. Rajan, what advice would you give first-time voters to help them make informed decisions and become active citizens beyond election day?
Your first-time voters come in at the age of 18. They've got 50 years of life ahead of them. If they want a better country, please, I'm imploring them, register and vote, because you're going to live here for another 50 years. Bobby and Yuvi and myself may be dead and gone, because your future is in your hands. So for you to play an active role to make the situation better. The current regime, the government has failed you. The municipality has failed you totally. So we need you to come and vote a new power to take over the country. Therefore, we are punting for eThekwini, rate-based political movement to get rid of the corrupt ANC, to get rid of the racist DA, and to get rid of a Zionist movement, Herman Mashaba's party. So I'm begging the youth, please play an active role to get a better place for you, for your mother, for your father, for your brother, for your sister, for your uncles and your aunties and your cousins. We need to change the country. We have been battered with apartheid. We lost lives during COVID. Now we lost another third phase through corruption. I'm begging the youth, please come on board. Let's build a new country together. And together we can do it. As South Africans, we are resilient and we are very successful in overcoming challenges. So I implore all the youth to come aboard to build a new country so we don't all have to emigrate to other parts of the world. South Africa is still good. The youth, please, we can do it together. And I'm going to thank Sid for offering us the platform to promote EPRM. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Dr. Bobby, if we had the opportunity to present one recommendation to the next president of South Africa, what would it be and why?
Very simple. I've said it more times this morning. People first. I'll talk to him and tell him or her and tell him that these people that live in an informal settlement should never have been living in an informal settlement. Sorry. We have allowed a lot of things to slip through our fingers over the last 30, 40 years. Yes, we've got a certain degree of people coming together, but it hasn't been strong enough. Sorry, there's some noise in the background. I said this before, and I'll say it again. Put the people first. If the government puts the people first, watch the massive change that will take place, and it will be positive. It will be positive. We talk about the youngsters not coming to vote, and that's the truth. Jesse's seen it. Rajen is seeing it also. You've got to change mindsets. You've got to move them out of that negativeness that they have been born in and buried in to a very large extent. Take them out of that. Tell them there's a new dawn coming. Tell them that. And then prove it to them that the new dawn is on its way and it is already here. But it's got to get better. Thank you.
All right, I've got two questions for you all in the comments, if you're okay with me asking that to you all quickly.
Sure.
Sure, that's
So, all right, the first one is from, this is from Jitan. Dear panel, the one thing that triggers me is the empty promises during election campaign. The real test is fulfilling these promises after elections. Where do we see South Africa in 5 years moving forward? Who wants to start first?
I can start.
I'll let them go first.
All right.
If we continue in the way that we are right now, we're never going to see it. I said this before and I'll say it again. We need a change in the thinking of the government, a massive change. So who has to bring in the people that can do that for us? Communities. Community involvement is crucial. And a person is allowed to vote from a certain age onwards. Why do we neglect them? Rajen, this might be a good one for you. You should be knocking at the doors, not only for the old. Get the youngsters that are at university, as an example, get them to come out. We have to make them aware of the fact that their involvement can only give us positiveness. And we can then do away with a lot of the nonsense that has been going on. This is not the time for politicians to come out just because it's election time and make themselves sick. Excuse me, brought into the government. But we got to get the right people. We got to get people that are educated. You need an education. There's a lot of people say, no, there's no need for education, blah, blah, blah. With also respect. I hear them, but they need the population, the younger population needs a good, strong education system that would make them think. And when you see that happening, it won't happen immediately, but in the years to come, you will see the changes. And it's like cooking mutton curry. You take all the raw stuff first. You're laughing, right? You take all the raw. I'm not a cook, by the way, but I've seen my wife do it. All the raw stuff, the vegetable, the mutton is cut, etc. And then when it goes into the pot, it takes some time to cook. It'll take more time with human beings. But it can be done. It has to be done. And no, how can I say, coming up now and making people aware you can do this and you can do that. We haven't seen anything. And I guarantee you, If it continues in the way it is, this country is going to go deeper and deeper into trouble. Thank you.
All right, who wants to go second?
Let Rajan go.
So,
Okay.
okay. 5 years from now, I see a better South Africa. We have had the Zondo Commission, we've had the Mandlanga Commission, and these commissions are going to eliminate corruption. Once corruption is gone, we're going to get a new entity taking over power. We're going to have far more fiscal resources to repair the roads, to make sure your street lights are working, to make sure your clinics are functioning out there. And South Africa will always turn around the corner. So we must not despair, and we will always be smiling at the end of the rainbow. As Tutu has said, we are a rainbow nation, and we will always overcome. Do not despair. We will get there. And through you, Sid, and your public platform, we need to be positive. As Bobby said, we need to be positive. And as Yuvi said, we got to think out of the box. But we will be there, and we will be the powerhouse in Africa, and we'll be on equal shoulders with the Modi regime because he's part of the BRICS nation. So I beg all people to take part in the election process in November, and we can get a new power coming out of the ballot box. But we need to put our honest, ethical people into power to make South Africa a better place. So thanks so much for the opportunity.
Yuvi?
So firstly, I want to say thank you, Resh. It's good to see that you're watching. And to address the question, I think both Dr. Maharaj and Professor Padayachee have made very, very good statements here. But there's one thing I would like to highlight. If we are to make these changes and make South Africa a better place in the next 5 years, there needs to be a total revamp, an entirely total revamp. We've got to get rid of the garbage. And I'm going to call them garbage. I know some people are not going to like it, but there is a lot of garbage in government right now. In the official ruling party, in the opposition party, the official opposition, there's trash. They need to go. We need to become more progressive. We need to become better in our thinking. Rajan makes some good points. We need changes at ground level. Changes need to be made at ground level. Dr. Maharaj makes some good points. In the long term, we need to have a vision. If we don't have that, and that vision starts with education, it is integral. If you do not have people that know the basics of what needs to be done, they're going to cut corners, and they're going to cut corners again. And there's going to be corruption because it works the first time. Okay, why can't I take advantage of this? It leads to an entirely messed up system. Put in discipline, put in education, one step at a time, and in 5 years' time, we could have a much different country ahead of us.
Awesome. All right, I'll get to the last question here, which is from Maya, then Shawarma and Raps. Dear panel, how can we increase trade in South Africa, meaning FDI?
I think personally that if we want to increase trade, we've got to have the guys, men and women, that are qualified to create a trade system that is extremely effective and growing all the time. We need that. We can hold anyone and everyone responsible, including ourselves. But that is a waste of time. Use that energy to put into the system something that is solid. And that means looking at a number of things. You know, certain countries I've read look at the age of the councillors, excuse me, or MPs. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think when we're looking at the next 5 years, gentlemen, be realistic. Be realistic. We all want to see the change. I've been hearing it from you, and you've heard me. But we need to know that it's not going to happen overnight, but we can make it at least 50% by getting the right people to grow. There's people going overseas using millions of rands, sitting in parliament and no one seems to know why. And when it is exposed, then we find it in the newspapers, etc., and it becomes a major issue. But it's not necessary for that kind of thing. 5 years, Sid, I'll keep my fingers crossed. But I don't really see it. I don't really see it coming. But the point is, it has to start, and that is important. It has to start. Take those university students, because they are your potential. They are in. I lectured in sport management. My students are working in job situations in the government, many of them. It was a start. We need to grow, and that is what is lacking. But Rajan's points are valid, very valid. We need to find honest, hardworking individuals that want to see this government grow. Thank you.
Sid, can I add
Rajan?
can I add two ways on how we can enhance trade in South Africa? Firstly, we've got a very good connectivity network in South Africa through Vodacom, MTN. I'm not advertising any present company, but we can enhance even our AI mode to create greater trade links with countries within Africa and Mauritius and Seychelles, the neighboring islands. Plus, also, we've got good weather like sunshine. We can capture figure state capture. We can have solar capture to bring about more greater power supply within South Africa. So using our connectivity and our sunshine, we can increase trade in South Africa throughout the African continent and with all the neighboring islands like Mauritius, Seychelles, etc. So we've got the natural resources on our hand. In that way, South Africa can become a positive trading partner in the southern hemisphere. Thank you, sir.
Oh, sorry, Yuvi.
Can I just dive in, Yuvi? I won't be long. Rajan's made a valid point, but Rajan probably might not know. The banks have moved up Africa. Rajan, the communication from some of the top banks, I'm not going to name names, right, have shown me that they are looking at investing and increasing the size of those companies here that were established in South Africa. It's a good point he's made, but it's there. AI, well, I don't know much about AI, so I'm not going to comment on that. But I know there are banks that are moving upward in Africa to develop not only themselves, but to develop the countries that they are now in. Thank you.
Awesome. Yuvi?
So, to me, trade is something that is integral to the foundation of any country. If we don't have that, we don't have a society that can function progressively. And it starts with baby steps. It starts with cleaning out the garbage. It starts with empowering people. This government, as corrupt as it has been, has taken certain steps in good directions. But even those steps, they looted. So, yeah. The DTI was a great idea. It was a wonderful idea. And it helped me as a small businessman in certain ways as well. But taking advantage of it, friends and family being given the inside scoop on things and that kind of thing, how to manipulate the system, that scenario messed things up. So more initiatives of that nature, more initiatives that grow the small businessman. There are so many people that don't have access to funding that have brilliant business ideas. If we can give them the education and the facilities to start making that happen, that is something that can work incredibly well. And I think it's those baby steps that need to be taken. And I believe we have the facilities, we have the know-how, we have the drive. The youth of today in South Africa is very, very driven. Maybe in the wrong direction, but they're very, very driven. And yeah, so essentially, yeah, it's down to giving them the support they need.
Awesome. All I gotta say that thanks so much for your time, guys.
Before we
Thank you
leave,
kindly, brother.
can I correct something, please? My surname
Sure.
ends with an H. There's a reason for that. The H stands for hardworking, honest, and handsome. All right? So it's with an H. I'm only kidding. But the Maharaj is spelled slightly differently from the others. Thank you so much, Sid.
You see where I get it from, right? You see where I get it from.
You got to see life. You got to see life, Sid.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a lot,
much,
guys.
Shaz.
Thank you.
Take care,
Most
bro.
welcome.
Thanks to my mentor, Bobby and Yuve. All the best. We shall meet. We shall
Thanks,
overcome.
bro.